So it's been a while since I did a UK Garage video, and my last one was one of my most popular videos, so I wanted to revisit this style again. And this time I wanted to do something a little more bouncy like the Sammy Virji style of UK Garage. In today's video, we're going to be focusing more on composition and less sound design. So pay attention to the chord writing techniques here. By the way, my name is Stranger. If you want to improve your music production and sound design, especially with dance music and drum and bass, then this channel is for you. Comment down below and let me know what are some of your favorite new UK Garage tracks. If you want to see more videos like these, make sure you hit the like button so I know to make more of them. And also make sure you hit the subscribe and bell notification so you can be notified on my latest videos. Also follow me on Instagram and TikTok where I'm providing exclusive content. Alright, without further ado, let's get right into it. Alright, so first and foremost, our tempo is at 135 beats per minute. UK Garage tends to be a lot more high energy and up tempo, so around 130 to 135 BPM usually works. Sometimes we go slower down to the 120s. It's up to the vibe and the tempo that you want, but typically it's higher in the 130s. So I'm going for that 4/4 Sammy Virji vibe, so here's the kick. Pretty self-explanatory, except on the sampler, I'm shortening the decay so it's not so boomy. Alright, next we got the hi-hats, and we're simply using a closed and open hi-hat pattern like house music. So here's the closed, and here's the open. And then I'm adding a little ghost hi-hat over here for a little bit of syncopation. I'm applying some groove quantization, so I'm using MPC Swing 75 for that UK Garage swing. Now typically I don't commit a swing, it's not necessary, but if you commit it, you'll see that it's moved it over here. So that's a pretty hard swing. Let's hear it with the kick. Alright, and then onto the clap. Again, simple clap on the 2 and 4. Now the use of ghost hits is what makes UK Garage so funky. So let's add some ghost snares in between the hits. Again, let's apply the same groove, swing 75. Let's duplicate this loop and make it different on the second bar. So let's remove this ghost hit on the first bar like that. Alright, and that's pretty much the beat. Once you have the beat, then I find it's helpful to have a vocal or a sample to help guide the direction of the track. So I found this really cool vocal from Splice from the Alice Aria Vocal Sugar Pack.
Why don't you notice? I'll give you motives. My love is loaded for you.
Now here's the vocal right in Ableton, and notice the vocal comes in late, so it doesn't start right on the 1. Now, as long as you have the first beat set properly, then you can set the 4-bar loop around the source material and exclude the silence.
Why don't you notice? I'll give you motives. My love is loaded for you. Why don't you notice? I'll give you motives. My love is loaded for you.
Now, this sample is written in the key of C minor. Now, I find that a bit high for bass music. I like to go a bit lower to get that throbbing sub bass. So I'm going to bring it down to F minor. So F minor is 7 semitones down from C, so just transpose it by -7. And just change the algorithm to Complex Pro, and then bring the format down to get that ghostly pitch down vocal vibe.
Why don't you notice? I'll give you motives. My love is loaded for you.
Otherwise, if you have the format all the way to 100, it tries to preserve the vocal tonality, and it kind of sounds a bit weird with that effect. So just bring it down to 0. And then I remove some of the low frequencies from the vocal, duck the low mids, and then boost the 2600 area to make the vocals a little more present. Added a bit of reverb and delay, and here's our vocal.
Why don't you notice? I'll give you motives. My love is loaded for you.
And here it is with the beat.
Why don't you notice? I'll give you motives. My love is loaded for you. Why don't you notice? I'll give you motives.
All right, and now let's look for another vocal as a counter or as a hook. So I found this vocal in the Lovesick R&B pack.
I don't even know if you can handle it. All I know is you can have it. I don't even know if you can handle it. All I know is you can have it.
So it's got that sweet R&B vibe. So once again, this vocal is in the key of C minor. Now, instead of pitching it down by -7, let's go 1 octave up. So -7 plus 12 is 5. So simply enter 5 in the transpose section.
I don't even know if you can handle it. All I know is you can have it. I don't even know if you can handle it.
Now this time, let's bring the format down to 50.
I don't even know if you can handle it. All I know is you can have it. I don't even know if you can handle it. All I know is you can have it.
I just find the texture sounds better down there. And here's the vocal over the beat.
I don't even know if you can handle it. All I know is you can have it. I don't even know if you can handle it. All I know is you can have it.
Now we're not going to play both vocals at the same time in the track, but just so you can hear that they're both in key.
Why don't you notice? I'll give you motives. My love is loaded for you.
Alright, so they're nice and synced up in key. Hey, if you want to support me, you can grab a number of my products. I have a gnarly Serum preset pack with over 150 face melting bass presets. As well, I have some Ableton project files to jumpstart your next idea. But if you're not ready yet, you can pick up my free Serum preset pack and my free sample pack. For more information, check the links down below. Alright, let's move on to the bass. So my bass is simply a sine wave with some drive on it, and I'm using some portamento, so there's some glide between the low and high notes. And I'm just adding a bit of amplitude envelope with a longer decay, so the bass is a bit more dynamic. Alright, so let's write the bass line. So I'm using Live 11 here, and their scale feature is pretty helpful here. So once again, we're writing in the key of F minor. So just enable the scale mode, hit F, F minor, and this way we can find the notes a little more easily. Now I encourage you guys to play and feel out a melody on the keyboard, but lack of one, you could just use the scale feature and find notes that work. The bass line that I'm going to be writing today is going to be based around the chord progression of 1, 5, 6, 3. So if you have the scale feature enabled, then your root key would be the 1, and then you just count up. So 1, and then 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and then 3 would be here. 1, 2, 3. Now I'm just going to add a secondary note here, going down to the 2. So here's our bass line. So to make this bass line a little more rhythmic, we're going to be employing a rhythm that's popular in UK Garage. It's actually a rhythm that comes from disco. The only thing is only certain notes are enabled in this rhythm. So let me demonstrate this. So instead of long notes, we're going to convert each note to a quarter note. Now, if this was typical disco, then we would shorten the notes, make a duplicate, and shift every other note 1 octave up like that. So with UK Garage, the rhythm is altered a little bit. We're going to remove these 2 notes here and simply just lengthen these notes. to make it a little more funky, I'm going to shift these guys up to the A flat. Notice that glide between the low and high notes. Alright, and onto the chords, and I got a copy of Pigments 3 thanks to the kind people at Arteria, and I'm simply playing this model mallet preset. Now Pigments 3 has a new engine called the Harmonic Engine. It opens a new world of possibilities. We'll visit it in a future video, but I'm simply using this preset. I just removed the reverb so it's a dry signal. Now let's use it and build some chords. Alright, so remember that original bass melody that we had? I pulled it into the chord instrument here and I just shifted it 2 octaves up. So let's build some basic triads here. So remember, the basic triads is simply layering a third and a fifth on top of the root. So again, we're using the scale feature, so it's easier to count. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, counting from the root. So add the third and fifth, and similarly, and we're just going to shift this last note up so it just sounds a little bit sweeter. Now let's shift the second and third chord 1 octave down so the range of all the chords are closer together. And then we're going to take the root note of each chord and then duplicate it an octave down. And a shortcut for that is Control, click, and drag. Now, one trick I've learned in chord writing is to apply a common note in each chord to join all the chords together. So we can add a C on the second and third chords like that. And we can add one at the very last chord as well. Let's just take this E up here and just bring it down 1 octave. So we have a top C all through the chord progression. I tend to not like it when there's 2 notes adjacent to each other. So what we can do is take this C, just bring it down octave like that. And let's just bring these 2 bottom notes 1 more octave down so it doesn't get confused with these notes up here. Now we can add an additional C to that first chord to thicken it up. It's just a trick to thicken chords. You can reuse the same keys in the triad and it's still considered a triad since we have a C up here. Here's the chords with the beat. To make this a little more funky, we're going to syncopate the chord and play a more rhythmic pattern. And we're going to be using 16th notes here. All I've done is I shortened the notes to 16 notes. I'm going to move these guys here so it's on the downbeat. We'll worry about these guys at the end. So I added a note there. Another position we can add is here, so it's like a ghost note. We can add one more here, and let's apply that groove quantized to the chords. Okay, and then we can do the same to these chords here. So simply we're gonna move this guy here. Like that. Take it one step further and make it more UK garagey, for lack of better terms, we can make the notes even shorter at 30-second notes. So half the size like that. All right, so that's sounding nice and funky. And let's hear it with the vocals over it.
Why don't you notice? I'll give you motives. My love is loaded for you. Why don't you notice? I'll give you motives. My love is loaded for you.
And here it is with the other vocal. Alright, I'm feeling the vibes. After I put down the vocals and the chords, I felt like I needed one more sound to tie the track together. So I went back to Splice. I found this awesome flute pack, which has a bunch of jazzy flute sounds. And apparently it's by this talented session musician named Renato Bianucci. And here's the loop. Once I heard that, I was like, that's UK Garage for sure. That's the vibe and flavor. So I put it right into the track. Now I had to pitch it up by 3 semitones to match the key of the track. Now there's a bit of reverb and delay on it, and I had to use some warp markers to make it match the beat a little more. So here it is with the beat. Vibes, vibes, vibes. Once I had all the main parts together, I brought it into the arrangement view, and I'm using an arrangement that employs 8-bar blocks. So every 8 bar there's a change. So I start with that pitch down vocal loop. 8 bars later I bring in the high vocal, and after I bring the flutes. And then I have a little 8-bar intro without the bass. And to help the transitions, I introduced this breakbeat between the main sections. I also have this reverse crash going into this stuttered crash here. So that's pretty much the track. So let's listen to the arrangement in full. right, vibes, vibes, vibes. And what I really liked about this composition was something I didn't even pick up on until listening to it after, is that the two vocals, although they came from two completely different packs and vocalists, they work really well together. The lyrical content seemed to make sense because the lower one is kind of like the lover. He's calling the lover out. And then the high one is that singer that's playing hard to get. She's saying that, I don't know if you can handle it. Right, so there's kind of some poetry to the way the lyrics are constructed. Let's listen to it again.
Why don't you notice? I'll give you motives. My love is loaded for you. Why don't you notice? I'll give you motives. My love is loaded for you.
Once again, the lover's calling out, asking, why don't you notice my love? And then she's like, well, I don't know if you can handle it, right? So just love how that worked out. Purely random and by mistake, and it just worked out. And sometimes that's the beauty of music, that magic sometimes happen in the studio. All right, so that was my take on the more bouncy sounds of UK Garage, and I can't wait to go out dancing again. Remember the lessons here of chord writing, stacking chords, and using the bass line as a foundation to write the chords. That's pretty much it for today, guys. Thanks for watching, keep practicing, and I'll see you at the next video.